bright and breezy Friday morning to you, my dear friends. Welcome to the Friday edition of Good Day Grenada. I'm George Grant saying thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for joining me. Always so encouraging to see you folks there. Let me see who's going to be first to pop up this morning. I know one person who's not going to be first to pop up this morning. Here we go. Ernesto is first. And if I'm not mistaken, it's the first time he's gotten in there first. I know that Penny is not going to be up because she sent a note to me from the Laurentians out there in Canada this morning saying that she's got some other things to do, so she's not going to be able to join us. Michael Alexander is there, and so is Benedict Cador and Sherry Wilson. Benedict Cador says, "Good morning, night here in Japan." Are you in Japan, Benedict? Wow. One of these days I got to get there. My dear friends, let's take a look at what's cooking here this morning. As many of you may know, our World Travel Market is underway, or probably just about over now. And our tourism minister did an interview was interviewed by the Caribbean Tourism Organization yesterday. And that was sent to me at about 3:35 this morning. We're going to share that with you. This being a Friday, we're also going to have a little after, very short piece called The Bathroom Break. What's that about? Hang in there, hang in there, hang in there. You're going to see that in just a wee bit. And I think we're going to get to Brian this morning before we get to the National Report. Brian, getting a little bit preoccupied. You know, the tourism season is here, and yeah, he's going to be a little bit tied up. So there are times when we just may not be seeing him, but he's going to be in this morning electronically. And then the National Report's going to bring the curtain down for you this morning, okay? Now, Grenada's Tourism Minister, Clarence Modeste-Kerwin, is part of a delegation representing Grenada at this year's edition of World Travel Market. It's this big conference where, you know, they get together and showcase their destinations to people from all over the world. And this morning I received a little piece here from the Caribbean Tourism Organization. It's an interview that was done with Modeste-Kerwin. Take a look and you'll get an idea of where we stand tourism-wise in Grenada. By the way, good morning, John. He says it's a sunny, slight breezy dependency number one. Peter Bishop is in St. Paul's this morning. Oswin Lewis is there, Bernard Gilbert, Arthur Langine is saying it's kind of cold out there in Brooklyn, New York. And hey, Margaret Francis, good morning, good to see you guys. Chester Simon, well, I just can't keep up with you guys this morning. Chester Simon is there. Anyhow, here comes the CTO's interview with Clarence Modeste-Kerwin.
Thanks, Minister, for speaking with us this morning. I've been around a bit at WTM over the past day and a bit. And I realize that it's been hectic for Grenada. Tell us what's been happening.
Well, hectic is what we expect it to be. We've had the opportunity to meet with a number of key stakeholders in the tourism industry. It's really been not just a pleasure, but it is very important to meet with the various persons, going from the airlines, the other persons in the business, whether it's the travel writers and others. This is a huge gathering with persons from various walks of life within the industry. And so it brings to us a wealth of information, a wealth of contact and networking that we would not otherwise have gotten. But it also allows us to see what other people are doing, and maybe there are ideas we can steal from, and to share what we do, share Pure Grenada, our trial and state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and to say that we're still real, we're authentic, and we try to keep it as natural as possible, and it's working for us.
What is the state of Grenada's tourism at present?
Our tourism is growing. Last year we had a quantum leap 2018 over 2017. This year so far it's been a little less dramatic, but it's encouraging that we continue to grow. More people are knowing about Grenada. More people are interested in coming to Grenada. And we won one of your CTO awards last night. And there were a couple of mentions. It means that things are happening and people are seeing more to write about Grenada.
And of course, everyone's excited about the opening of your most recent, your newest property, which is doing pretty well for Grenada, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We've had the opening, and I'm not sure if you're mentioning our Silver Sands, which opened less than a year ago, and it's a fabulous hotel, and it's in a wonderful location, and of course it's in one of the best beaches in the world, if not the best, Granda's Beach, and it's high end, and it offers the person with deep pockets everything that they would like to have. But we're also excited about soon to open Royalton Hotel. It's a fabulous brand as well, and we're looking forward to that. We've seen what they've done in other destinations, and so we're looking forward to them bringing that kind of crowd into Grenada. Later on next year as well, our Kimpton Kuwana Bay Resort brand will be opening as well. And we did sword turning for Six Senses, and the developers of Six Senses have also brought more property to develop another brand right in the area. So it's looking good for us. We're moving away from the urban areas and we're going into rural, and I think it's a great time for community tourism.
But it seems that more and more people are noticing Grenada these days in terms of not just the visitors but the investors as well.
It is happening, partly because we've stepped up on our marketing, but partly because of partnerships like we've had with CTO, and which you afford us that opportunity to be seen and heard in other destinations, and we thank CTO for that. But also the visitors who come speak for themselves. In this digital age, Pure Grenada is being marketed by our visitors. We're well known for our friendliness, and this is one of our greatest attributes. But our cuisine and our other attractions, they are bringing in more people into our country.
I also noticed that you're having quite a few additional flights coming in. Share with us what's happening there.
Well, our biggest source market is the United States, USA. And so very soon in December, we'll have a new flight from Charlotte in the US, from North Carolina. That is with American Airlines coming into Grenada. JetBlue is putting on some more flights. And so that will be good for us, primarily from New York, but we have a serious base, a support base in New York, and they never get enough. And we're also negotiating with other airlines for more airlift from Canada, because there is also an appeal for that. But the UK and Europe, we're doing very well with our load factor with our airlines from the UK and the USA. UK, I spoke about USA, and also from Germany. So overall, our load factor, our visitorship, our filling of our share of the airplanes have been very good, and it's growing. So we're looking forward to a bumper 2020 and beyond, because Six Senses has the project that they're going to be opening in 2022. So we're looking forward to that as well.
Now, Thomas Cook, its collapse clearly affected some Caribbean destinations more than others, and they have moved very quickly to replace the lost seats. What was the impact on Grenada, if any?
We didn't have a major impact because we didn't have much direct link with Thomas Cook, but it did impact one of the airlines that come, which is Condor, which has business relationship with Thomas Cook. And for a while we were concerned because our visitors from Germany give us great support in our destination. And our last conversation with Condor was to increase the flights as well, the number of seats. And so it did raise some concern, and we're happy that within the European Union and with Germany, they have managed to bail out Condor and to give it that financial support to allow them to continue to fly. And so we look forward to new discussions and increased seats from that destination.
Minister, at the recent CTO Outlook Forum in Antigua and Barbuda, you were present, and I know you were quite interested in meeting further with especially Royal Caribbean who was there. What are you doing in the context, particularly as cruise is concerned?
Well, since then we have met with Royal Caribbean, and we're expecting some more calls from them. We're also looking at the fact that Barbados will be used as a sort of hub, and that St. Lucia also is doing some working on with, I think they signed an agreement with one of the cruise lines for home porting, and that would augur well for the Southern Caribbean, not just Grenada, but those of us who are further south, which makes it difficult for the 5-day cruises and one-way cruises emanating from Florida to get to us. So with home porting nearer to home, and I think I feel really encouraged that the Caribbean islands, we're talking more about multi-destination, we're talking more about collaboration, we're talking specifically about a southern collaboration, and I think there is enough to entertain visitors. There is enough similarities, but enough differences so that each one of us can produce or offer a unique experience for the cruise visitors. So I look forward to that. We do have, because we had FCCA meeting in Puerto Rico just a few weeks ago, and we were happy to hear that we're going to be getting some more calls. So we are hastening because we're expecting some 10 or 12 calls to Carriacou. Carriacou is a gem, a destination gem, and we're happy to hear that. As a matter of fact, only last week we had a meeting with stakeholders there to let them know that we have to get ready. And they do have some really unique qualities, and they do take maybe a little more pride in their heritage than we do. They have managed to preserve it better than we do. So I'm really looking forward to 2020 and beyond in terms of cruise.
And over the weekend, Minister, son of the soil for Grenada, Lewis Hamilton, who you will know, I'm sure, very well, won his 6th World Championship in Formula One racing. Is British of Grenadian parentage. You must be, first of all, very happy about this. And how do you work with people like this to help spread the word about Grenada?
This is something that we are working on at the moment. Lewis Hamilton has recognized Grenada as, the land of his foreparents, and he has visited quite a lot in the past. It has not been so frequent in recent times, and we are really ecstatic that this son of the soil has reached that levels. Only recently I was watching television, and they were comparing him to other racers and looking forward to him surpassing other racers. Mike Schumacher, that's it. So we're looking forward to that. We are happy for that, and we're looking to see how we can strengthen our relationship with him. Because imagine if he had a hotel in Grenada, it would be full this week, and we'd be having a whole carnival again. So instead of having 2 carnivals in our destination, we'll be having a 3rd one every time he won one of the races. So we are really happy for this young man. It shows that he's really focused in what he's doing, and he's achieved so much for himself and for his family, and by extension for Grenada. And maybe by the time he wins the next race, who knows? Yesterday I was speaking to our High Commissioner, Grenada's High Commissioner to London, and I said we have to renew our efforts to see how we can make it more meaningful for our tourism industry and for our country.
Thank you, Minister.
It is indeed a pleasure always to talk to you, Johnson.
Alrighty, folks, so there you have it. That was Grenada's Tourism Minister Clarence Modeste Kerwin speaking yesterday at World Travel Market, okay? Now, Mr. Pitt, I told you he's going to be here at 9:15 this morning. Well, it's 9:16, and yes, he was here at 9:15 this morning. And I don't want to keep him waiting. So even though I did promise you that we're going to have a Friday morning funny, I'm going to hold that funny, and let me tell you, Georgie Porgy, I've been a little bit naughty. Wait until you see this little piece. You'll have to excuse me. We're going to hold that funny until we're through with the GIS this morning, okay? I do want to address some comments that were made here while you were listening to that piece. We've been joined by Gigi Dominique, and Gigi is out there in Paris. Good morning, Gigi. Charmaine Dalil is sending blessings to you guys. Michael Alexander says, hey class, my last day with you live, but I will continue to follow up on Facebook. Well, Michael, you're just going to be joining a whole bunch of people who follow us on the road. Only last night, when we did We Chat, we had somebody in the United States who was watching us in their car. And I know that some of you watch us while you're at work, on your trucks or wherever. Thank you very much for being so loyal. Ryan Jabon saying good morning. Charmaine Dalil says, Mr. Minister, yes, come to Grenada, but we need to fix the roads and the hospitals. Update the attractions. It's a shame. Same old thing. Hey, Charmaine, one step at a time. I guess they're working at it. Anthony DeRiggs is saying good morning to you folks from a sunny Grenada, but he's heading out to St. Andrew to visit a sick friend. Anthony, take our best wishes for a speedy recovery along with you. Kipling is saying good morning to you folks and sending blessings. Margaret Francis says, all is well and good to talk about all these hotel developments, but how are you preparing locals for the high-end jobs in these facilities? Or is your vision for Grenadians to continually be maids and gardeners? No insult intended to those folks, but why can't Grenadians be chefs, managers, etc.? Okay, good point, Margaret. Sharon is saying good morning. John says, the minister said they give Condor financial support, yet 5 years ago, they removed funding from Monarch Airlines, which were never empty and affordable. Okay. Kipling says, as long as some people can work in a hotel, they don't care what kind of work they do. Remember, the nano knows their followers. Thank God, soon the NDC will change that backward mentality. Margaret says, yeah, and because of that uniqueness, Carriacou doesn't need the kind of tourist who comes on a Carnival or Royal Caribbean cruise ship. These people are, for the most part, not interested in that. Target the eco-tourism crowd. They also have more disposable income and are willing to spend it. Peter Bishop says, stoops. John says, Margaret, exactly so. But where is the training, or where are the training facilities for these Grenada managers, chefs, etc.? Peter says, we would have had another carnival jokes. I don't understand you. Lawrence Kruthoff is chiming in this morning. And now here's one boy. Enid Jalalifharani Hani. Ooh, that's a mouthful. Says, well said. I myself was wondering what the training looks like as a room attendant myself. We get more than 6 different training every year. just to deal with our clients, and the mentality of Grenadian is something to desire. Didn't you hear this lady talk about how well we're known for our warmth and friendliness? Good morning, Anthea. John says, get the pit stop on. Yeah, the pit stop is all sided up. Come on, he's there. Let's see here. Margaret Francis says, John, that is what happens when you don't plan in a comprehensive and forward-thinking way. But they always put the cart before the horse. Good morning, Amanda Jack. Ryan Jabon says, these hotels in Grenada are for those with money. Yeah, I guess so. That's another story. Okay. I think that's about it for the time being. Let me now move over. Where is he? I know he's there. I know he's there. Yes, there he is. I like his shirt, man. How are you doing, Mr. Pitt?
I am doing great, George. Good morning. Good morning to you.
I see you wearing one of my favorite colors, man. Nice choice.
Well, different shades of green.
Yeah. I hope it doesn't have anything to do with politics, but anyhow. Mr.
No,
Pitt.
this is a rainy season, George. There's a lot of green around us.
Yeah. And I did notice that on a trip up the West Coast last week. Mr. Pitt, you heard you heard us there talking for a minute about tourism. And you're involved in the tourism industry to some extent, aren't you?
Yes. We've been involved in that industry for a while. I'm slowly getting out of it, George.
You're getting out of it?
I'm getting... Yeah. It's time to retire and spend some time with my grandchildren.
You have grandchildren. Jeez, congratulations.
Thank you.
Since you're involved in the industry, I'm sure you've met and still do meet a lot of visitors to the island. When these people talk to you, what impressions do they leave you with? What impressions has Grenada left them with?
You know, George, this is a subject that is very current in my mind. And I'll tell you why. I listened to the Minister of Foreign Affairs recently talking about the Chinese Belt and Road project.
Yeah.
Yes? And I believe there was mention of possible investment in the tourism industry.
Yeah.
I want you to bear with me a minute, George, because I want to go back to the 1980s. That was during the People's Revolutionary period, where there was a conversation and a conference in Dominica that the Caribbean spoke about the allocation of industries. Have you ever heard of that, George?
No.
The plan was that we would allocate different industries to different islands. And I'll give you an example. Dominica had a lot of copra, coconut, and they were advanced in the making of soap, so that we'll all get copra to Dominica to make soap. While that conversation was happening, George, there was also a conversation about protecting areas in tourism for local investment. Yes, George? Mm-hmm. And that local investment included restaurants, tours, taxi driving, sites, etc., etc. And I think the conversation was geared towards protecting the culture and heritage of some of these territories in Grenada. That was the purpose. So Annandale Falls, for example, would have been controlled by a local group, and what all the other sites of Grenada would be controlled by local groups. And I was struck when I heard the minister talking about the Chinese possible investment into tourism, and wondered what that investment entailed? Did that investment entail the takeover of some of our sites that will reflect our culture and heritage?
Watch it. Remember who feed you. Okay.
Well, at the risk of upsetting the hand that feeds us, George, I think it's important that we point out these things. I mean, there was a conversation earlier, I heard you talk about how does our people benefit from this increasing interest in tourism? Yes? We can't build hotels, we don't have the resources to do that. But surely we know about Grenada, even though through messages handed down by our forefathers, so that we can take somebody to a site in Grenada and explain to them what it's all about. What's the historical importance of that site? We don't need a large investor to come in and do that for us. And that large investor, by the way, George, might hire us and pay us pittance to explain to the tourists what these sites are about. And from time to time, we talk about community tourism, and I cannot think of any other way to encourage community tourism than to encourage our communities to form cooperatives to protect and explain some of these sites. Yes, George?
Yeah.
I think that is logical, isn't it?
Well, you and me might think that way, but
the idea of us continue to talk about people with money coming to control our destination frightens me. Especially given the fact that the Chinese are billions of people with a lot of money. Well, a few of them have a lot of money, and they're looking for places to occupy.
building more pagodas.
Yes, George. And I think we have to take note of some of these conversations that is happening and read between the lines, of what some of these people say from time to time. You know, Grenada is still a very popular destination. People like coming here. You know, for many years, George, there were cruise ships that came into Grenada and enjoyed the sail into the Carnage. When you sail into the Carnage, that place opens up to you as no other port in the Caribbean and the world.
Absolutely.
But we have decided over time that the Carnage should not be a cruise ship port, and that the only cruise ship port in Grenada should be that in St. George's in town, denying our visitors the beauty of the Carnage unfolding other than when they take a rum runner trip. And the rum runner still comes into the Carnage, George, just to show people the beauty of that place.
But in all fairness, Brian, I mean, there are large ships that are coming in here, like the one we had this week. They can't get in here to the Carnage.
I agree totally, George. However, when you look at the list of this year's cruise ship season, you will see a number of ships below a certain size and of a certain age. If given the option of sailing into the Carnage, I am sure that they'll grab it. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure if that is done, you will encourage some more businesses on the Carnage to not only open but expand.
Okay, point taken. Point taken.
Good.
By the way, before we move on, you mentioned a little while ago the Belt and Road Initiative.
Yes.
I'm sure you're aware that over the past couple of weeks, we did have a number of people here from some of the islands in the region who are participating in that program. And I thought,
Yes.
you know, I don't think the average Grenadian really understands much about this initiative. So I thought, hey, let me try and get a couple of the big wigs to come in here and, you know, talk with us about it. Now, first of all, they don't answer my phone calls. So I decided, let me write. And I could show you the letters I have here. I wrote to the Foreign Affairs Minister. I wrote to the Trade Minister, inviting them both. I have not even had the courtesy of an acknowledgement of my emails, let alone saying that they declined the invitation. Just wanted to mention that. Well,
you know, George, the protocols seem to have changed over the years. You know, I note earlier in our conversation, not today, but sometime in the past, that the Governor General wasn't responding to letters that she received.
So I shouldn't feel left out.
So maybe this is a new protocol.
Okay, yeah. All right. Mr. Pitt, I guess you know a young man by the name of Richard St. Bernard. He's saying good morning to you.
Morning, Richard. Yes, I do.
Amanda Jack saying good morning. Margaret says, Brian, in the interest of fairness, I hope you go wear a yellow shirt the next time.
Margaret, if you look closely, there's some yellow amidst the green in my shirt. When yellow becomes the dominant color in Grenada, that would be the dominant color.
Okay.
You know, George, it's interesting that Margaret would make that comment because I had a note here that the NDC just completed a convention, and I heard it went pretty well. There is a new political leader. But, you know, I believe in marketing, George, it's important who the messenger is. Not the message so much, but the messenger. Because you can have a very good message and a bad messenger, or a messenger that is not accepted by the community. And that good message would not get across to them.
Yeah, true.
I hope that the NDC will pay careful attention to who the messenger is, not only on radio and television, but on social media. And that person must have some credibility with the population at large.
Yeah.
Because the man on the street tells me, George, that there are some folks involved in the NDC that does not go down too well with the average man on the street. I see you smiling, George.
Of course, I keep hearing that every day.
And it's an open secret. So they must be very careful, I think, who the messenger is.
Yeah. All right, getting back to social media here. Somebody here is defending you. Let's see. Michael Alexander is telling Margaret, you like too much thing. Leave Brian alone. We're also joined by Aline Buddy Hosford, and John says Chinese influence, like the pagodas at Grenada. Brian, would they not have to invest in dredging the Carenage? John is asking.
George, you know, the dredging the Carenage is a major project. You know, it's a project that we should have undertaken many, many years ago, because that thing is pulling up. It's silt. When you walk around the Carenage, you could see that. As a matter of fact, I was walking around the Carenage one morning, and I met a guy who was exercising. He tells me, you know, there are certain parts in the Carenage where you can swim all the way up to Young Street, you know. Yeah. Because the erosion has caused some very deep holes. So we have to pay particular attention to what is happening there.
Yeah, yeah. Ryan says, Brian, why are ordinary Grenadian diaspora blokes like me on vacation at home excluded by expensive nightly rates of Sandals, Silver Sands, and these Grenada hotels? In all fairness, Ryan, I mean, come on. Yes, we have these expensive hotels, but you also have down market properties, don't you, Brian?
Yes, and I believe Airbnb doing quite well in Grenada, you know, George. There are a number of people renting apartments and homes through Airbnb, including Carriacou. And we get a lot of visitors to Grenada using that means of accommodation.
Okay.
But I mean, the people in the tourism industry and the Hotel Association in particular will tell you that this is an upmarket.
That's
whatever that means.
That's the part that bothers me. We really don't have that many high-end hotels here, yet that seems to be the focus of the Grenada Tourism Authority.
Yes, and very soon, I believe, when the Rex is reopened under whatever name it's going to be called, that will be a 5 or 6 star hotel. So we are indeed an upmarket.
Yeah. Ernesto Jose says the latest data released on the Minister of Finance website from January to September, only 156 of 252 applications were approved, and 439 persons becoming new Grenadian citizens for the first half of 2019. I'm sorry, Ernesto, please. Ryan says hotels are cheaper in Las Vegas. Lawrence Kruthov, I don't know if you know this gentleman, but Lawrence says, so, like they say, Brian is getting ripe. Kipling says, Mr. Grant, some people would not come on your program. It takes guts to do that. Why come when you cannot get away with propaganda? The spin stops here on GG. Well, if that's the case, let's keep it up, Kipling. John says, Brian, you can almost walk across, but don't tell KCM.
Walk across the carnage. I think he's saying don't tell KCM because Sir Eric Matthew Gary tried that after at one point, tried walking on water.
Yes, I remember that. Arthur Langine says, Brian, that's good advice to the NDC. I never thought of that, not until you said so. And Margaret Francis says, Ryan, there are reasonably priced hotels as well. Blue Horizons is reasonable. Brian, let me ask you something. Did you see a release this week about an initiative in the diaspora? They've got this survey going where they're trying to gather information about the diaspora by having people answer a number of questions online. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. No, I haven't.
Okay.
What is the purpose of this survey?
Well, they say the purpose of this thing is to develop the link between Grenada and the diaspora. They want the diaspora to become more involved in the development of Grenada. And I read the questions in that poll, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and I'll tell you, they ruffled a number of feathers. And generally speaking, if you look through social media, you'll see that this whole initiative is not very being warmly received at all. So I guess you can't answer the question I wanted to ask, which is, would you be participating in the survey? You can't answer that until you see the survey.
I am not part of the diaspora, George, but I can understand where this survey is coming from. It's probably coming from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Of course it is.
Because for some time now, we have had the impression that Grenadians living outside of Grenada have a lot of money to spare and would want to invest some of it into Grenada. I believe that idea came from the Israelis, but we are not Jewish. Because a lot of Israelis have invested a lot of money into Israel, the Israeli diaspora. And I think we believe that there are a lot of Grenadians out there with funds that would like to put into Grenada. I don't know if the conditions here are right. But then that reminds me, George, of a recent plan for health, where a member of the diaspora, I believe Dr. Nixon is his name, who built some apartments in close to SGU. And I stand corrected on this. But I wonder if that's the same Dr. Nixon who is involved in this supposed healthcare plan for Grenada.
Is the one involved in that plan Dr. Nixon? I thought it was Ned.
Is it Dr. Ned?
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the name. I thought I heard Dr. Nixon.
Okay.
But I could be mistaken. But you know, I hope that we are paying careful attention to the people involved in this contract to provide for us a blueprint for a health program in Grenada. Now, if I'm not mistaken, one David Phillip has been involved in the preparation and the research that has been done across the world in trying to come up with a plan that would fit Grenada's need, in this whole healthcare business. So it's something I believe that we should pay particular attention to, as to who is behind this plan for healthcare for Grenada.
You know, it came as a surprise to me when I saw the release announcing that this Miami-based company had become involved in developing our health insurance plan, because I thought we were way ahead of that at this stage. You know, I thought the plan was on the verge of being unveiled. Well, obviously not. And I always...
Well, my understanding is that we've done a lot of research in this area. There are certain people who have been traveling the world over, looking at all kinds of plans. So I would think that there is something on paper. I know that we approached the UWI at some point in time for advice on this matter. So I am a little curious as to why we awarded a contract to a Miami-based company to advance this project.
And yesterday I saw somebody on Facebook giving a heads up that apparently it's the same company that was involved in another, I could be wrong, but I think it's the Turks and Caicos Islands, where the healthcare system is now on a rope. So I guess what
something that we should pay attention to, George.
Yeah, okay. Anthony Howard says, be careful, Brian Pitt, where you're stepping. Margaret, about this initiative, Margaret says, the Indians had a similar program, but theirs was based on knowledge transfer. Enid says, Enid, I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name. Please forgive me. Enid says, you were asking what this plan is all about. And she says, that is to tax us more when we come home. Yes. Ernesto says, George, this is an article from the Caribbean News I found on the train yesterday. John Bruno says, Brian, this company already has issues in the Bahamas. I guess talking about that healthcare company, okay. John says, he's saying here that diaspora poll is to see where the money is.
Well, who's that, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, John is agreeing with me. I mean, that's the whole idea, to raise some funds. And by the way, George, I noticed there are islands now that are becoming more and more dependent on this TBI funding, because the government, a lot of these governments have difficulty with cash flow.
Yeah. Yeah. Could that difficulty be because of poor management on the part of these governments?
No. They don't have a source of income other than taxes. What do we export? I keep going back to 1995, George, when we all voted to remove personal income tax, as it was established at the time. And we are now suffering because of that, because the government don't have a steady flow of income every month. Yes, we have that, but I think we had a larger pie when we had personal income tax on the books, and everybody was paying as they earn. This 30 years down the road or 40 years down the road, George, is a direct result of what we voted for in 1995.
Yeah. But Brian, you say yes, you're saying we just don't have sources of income. But Brian, that's if you take a static look at it. But Brian, with all these creative minds we have here in the Caribbean, couldn't you just think of developing alternative ways of generating revenues?
Well, we had creative minds back in the 80s when we came up with this whole idea of allocation of industries, George. And to me, that is the only way that the Caribbean cannot exist by individual islands for too much long. I mean, we have little kings and little kingdoms, yes. But until and unless we can come together and do something collectively, we're going to have problems.
Anthony.
And by the way, just before I move on, George, because I'm running out of time, I heard Alan yesterday, and I had the good fortune of listening to you and Alan for a while yesterday. And the conversation about an early election came up, and I think Alan disagreed with my earlier prediction.
Yeah.
And I want Alan to note the new plan to pay pensioners. And that reminds me of the plan that was put in place to pay people from Capital Bank. Remember that $500 thing?
Yeah.
I suspect, George, that is all part of the overall plan, Let's try and please some people. And the faces I saw congratulating the government on this initiative said to me, whoa, you're trying to please a lot of people. Yes, George?
Yes, Brian.
It's further confirming my thoughts, George.
Man, you have a lot of influence here. You and Brian, you and Alan seem to think alike, and I think it was back in March, you were sitting here with Willie Joseph, and you threw a challenge out to Willie to write a book about the revolution. Look, the man produced a book, and he's coming in here on Sunday to talk about it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I hope the book does well.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Brian. I know you got to run. I also wanted to ask you a question about how many of the piggies we're importing from St. Vincent that will find their way onto your Christmas dinner table, but I guess you don't have time to answer that. You heard that we're bringing in some pigs, didn't you?
Yes, but I also heard it's a private business, isn't it?
It's a private business.
Yes. I mean, somebody is trying to expand their livestock industry. For a while now, George, I think some of the butchers in town have been having difficulty getting good beef in. Some people who buy meat in the meat stall have alerted me to this, that there are butchers that are having difficulty getting good cuts of beef. So maybe this is part of that whole that whole idea of increasing our livestock.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Pitt. You have a wonderful weekend, sir. I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.
Have a great weekend, George. Bye-bye.
All right. Mr. Brian Pitt, there he goes on a Friday morning. What are Friday mornings without Brian? Come on. What are Friday mornings without this character? By the way, a couple of comments here. I think we missed one from Anthony Howard. He said, improving the health care in Grenada will be an incentive to get Grenadians in the diaspora to retire in Grenada. Ernesto says, what are your views on the livestock we're getting from St. Vincent? Well, that one was just answered. Michael Alexander says, Brian, you are correct, but people don't like to hear that. Kipling says, we were doing well with inland revenue talk back in the 60s. No one knew they were paying tax, and we had price control. But this today, things change. John says, you can fool some of the people all of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all the time. You sure that's the way it goes, John? Arthur Langein says, Brian, I thought the same thing about the people who were praising the government about the payout. All right, folks, I'll tell you what, I think it's time that we get into the national report. So let's take a quick break and then we'll do that.
Christmas safety tips. Always unplug Christmas tree lights before leaving home or going to sleep. Check your tree lights and outdoor lights for damage each year before you use them. Discard lights with frayed wires, loose connections, and cracked sockets. Do not overload your wall outlets or extension cords. Remind children never to touch lights or outlets. Select lights appropriately. Never use indoor lights outside or vice versa. Happy holidays from Grenlake.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who's supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Grenada pledges to strengthen diplomatic ties with India to expand potential benefits. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Thursday, November 7th, 2019, I am Rakisha St. Louis. Grenada moves to strengthen ties with India, that's according to Foreign Affairs Minister Honorable Peter David, who recently returned from what he terms a fruitful engagement with government officials there. The Foreign Affairs Minister, during the government's post-cabinet briefing on Tuesday, shared with members of the media that it is important for his government to establish new diplomatic relations. Minister David says while the government of Grenada is appreciative of the traditional ties with the US, Canada, and England, it is important to expand and explore its options for mutual beneficial ties with countries like India. He says the Indian economy is one that is rapidly developing.
In my visit to India, I was able not only to meet government officials, the Chief Minister of Gujarat, the Foreign Minister of India, we met in Delhi. We had discussions on how do we develop, how do we enhance the relationship between India and the Caribbean, and India and Grenada in particular. India is one of the fastest developing of countries in the developing world. India, as you're well aware, quite good in technology, good in education, good in medicine, and we believe that while we keep good relations with our traditional partners, because I always say this, we have excellent relationship with our traditional partners like the United Kingdom, the United States, and Canada, but we must seek to deepen relations with new partners. So that is why, we have excellent relations with India at the moment. We sought relations with several other countries, including Morocco and others, because we must diversify the relationships. And India is going to form an important part in that diversification.
Minister David says his government is seeking to establish enhanced diplomatic contacts there and will soon be establishing a consulate in India.
Hopefully, ultimately, the establishment of an embassy in India. And what I have found on the visit is that the Indian businessmen in India are eager to come to the Caribbean to invest. We already have several Indian businessmen in Grenada at the level of commerce. We need to enhance those to take them in a bigger and better direction. So we've had some discussions on that. We hope to enhance that in the future.
I never believed in my entire life when I was being told that I was crazy and mad for advocating oceans as the way we will survive, that in the Caribbean I would see a meeting with this many young scientists, engineers, and public officials. It is a good sign.
Those were the opening words of Dr. Al Binger, Secretary General of Small Island Developing States, DOC, as he addressed experts in technology exploration, marine energy, along with representatives of international agencies and researchers at a two-day Marine Technology Forum in Grenada. The forum is organized by the Caribbean Community Secretariat and co-hosted by the Government of Grenada and the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. SIDS DOC is an institutional mechanism established to facilitate the development of a sustainable energy economy within the small island developing states to help SIDS generate the financial resources to invest in climate change adaptation. Dr. Binner says development of ocean energy is of critical importance, and it is in the big blue that lies all the energy and water that SIDS need.
Paradoxically, we continue to depend on far too much fossil fuel, more than 90% of our energy sources. But in a similar way, we continue to depend on imported food for more than 90% of our food. Being vulnerable is having not your own energy and not your own water. And this is why ocean energy is so important. Because in the big blue, we have all the energy and all the water we need.
The Secretary General says it is time to get rid of the idea of low least cost energy in the region. Least cost energy, he says, does not lend to have the kind of integration needed in the energy sector.
The energy sector in islands has to be totally integrated to achieve sustainable development. It has to be integrated with the water sector, has to be integrated with the waste management sector, has to be integrated with agriculture, and most importantly, it has to be integrated with building climate resilience. We cannot build climate resilience with a 90% dependent energy sector on fossil fuel. That's how we got here in the first place.
He's hopeful that the takeaway from the forum will be that the Big Blue is the only option small island states have to deal with climate change and climate resilience, and if we fail, generations to come will not forgive us. Still in news, lawyers should not be intimidated by the mediation process. That advice came from Justice of Appeal, His Lordship Justice Davidson Batiste, at the relaunch of the Mediation Public Awareness Campaign. Grenada has taken the decision to boost the process of encouraging settlements between parties outside of the courtroom in the presence of a mediator. His Lordship Batiste explained that mediation cannot and was not intended to replace lawyers. He encouraged the members of the Grenada Bar Association to support the process, which will ease the hundreds of backlogged cases pending court hearings.
There is a role for lawyers, and there is also a role for mediators. I note here that some lawyers are in fact mediators. Further, if the parties are unable to arrive at an acceptable settlement, they are free to proceed to trial. We live in a society pregnant with litigation, an inevitable consequence of which is that the number of cases being filed are increasing rapidly, with the concomitant strain on limited court resources, resulting in a delay.
This is a national report. More news after the break.
Did you join the public service on or after February 22nd, 1985, and have since retired? This might be important to you. Government understands that the NIS pension may be insufficient to take care of your needs. So, while it awaits the court's ruling on the matter of pension for public officers, government has taken action to protect your quality of life so that you can take care of your needs in the meantime. Persons who joined the public service on or after February 22nd, 1985 and serve continuously in an established position for a minimum 26 years and 8 months and retired at age 60 may be eligible to receive an advance payment, which when combined with NIS represents 70% of their last salary. For more information, call or visit the Pension Secretariat in the Department of Public Administration, Ministerial Complex, 440-3767.
Finally, in the news, the island will soon benefit from Phase 2 of a regional coconut development project with the aim of strengthening the alliances towards increasing its productivity and profitability. The partnership, a collaboration between the European Union, the International Trade Center, and the Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, CARDI, will support from the CARIFORUM Secretariat and the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, is being implemented with the Alliances for Action. We get more in this report from Mina Booker.
Attempts have been forthcoming to revitalize the coconut industry since the 2004 and 2005 passage of Hurricanes Ivan and Emily respectively. As the country forges ahead with focus on the industry, a special stakeholder consultation was held on Friday, 1st November. The International Trade Center has been working on the advancement of the coconut sector in 12 countries for the last 4 years, with the Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, or CARDI. Mr. Hernan Manson, representing the International Trade Center, is happy that Grenada can become the 13th nation to come on board.
We are coming back with the intention of working in a collaborative manner, partnering with farmers, with the farmer associations, with the processors and SMEs that are part of the sector, food processing, coconuts, associated crops, and of course with the government in order to provide support for this very important sector, which is agriculture as a business, and of course which is related to the livelihoods of so many Grenadians that are involved in this, whether it is in the processing and manufacturing side as well as the farming.
There is an estimated 25% of projected growth in sales for coconut water alone in the next 5 years. Coconut and coconut products are becoming a staple in the food and beverage markets, health and skincare markets. Permanent Secretary within the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Mr. Elvis Moraine, implored on the participants to commit themselves to use lessons from the engagement to contribute to the continuous initiatives to propel the sector forward.
I want you to commit yourself today with whatever the lessons we get out of the second phase. We must give a commitment to continue with the coconut industry. The Ministry of Agriculture is very pleased to be associated with this. As a matter of fact, the Ministry of Agriculture is a technical ministry. And we must be and always be happy to partner with other agencies to help to improve what we do.
This project covers the Samoa Pathway priority areas, which take into account sustained and sustainable, inclusive and equitable economic growth with decent work for all, climate change, disaster risk reduction, water and sanitation, food security and nutrition, and waste management. The A4A approach is clustered around 5 areas, which include understanding, convening, transforming, investing, and impacting. This project, according to Director of Research and Development at the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Malachi Dottin, will be able to contribute to the economic development and improve livelihoods in Grenada and the wider Caribbean.
So when we embrace the coconut industry, we must embrace it in that light. Embrace it in reducing poverty. Embrace it in reducing hunger. Embrace it in reducing health and improving health and wellness. But as we move on towards the deliberation and the dialogue today, we must take three important co-elements into consideration. We must take that the coconut industry, we need to take into consideration environmental protection. We need to take into consideration social inclusion, because the only way you will be able to improve the capacity is to improve, is to involve the farmers. And interestingly, economical growth.
This project supports the main sustainable development goals, such as goal number 2 of attaining zero hunger, goal number 8, decent work and economic growth, goal number 9, industry innovation and infrastructure, and goal number 16, attaining peace and justice for strong institutions. Phase 2 of this project aims to replicate the successful partnership model across the Caribbean region and scale up impact through Alliances for Action model by adopting an inclusive and participatory approach. It would also focus on building stronger and inclusive value chains in the Caribbean coconut industry, improving market linkages as it aims to sustain a commercially driven industry in the region as a major contributor to coconut trade. For the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Mina Booker.
That story just ended the national report for today, Thursday, November 7th. Let's recap the top story. Grenada pledges to strengthen diplomatic ties with India to expand its potential benefits. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Alrighty, folks, that's going to take care of the national report from last night. We're almost at funny time, but just before that, there's a note here from Ernesto a little while ago. He said that he heard that we have an increase in obtaining a police record. It's now moved from $25 to $60, and he's asking, is there any truth to that? Ernesto, I cannot verify that information, but I did hear that yesterday as well, that the price for obtaining a police record has gone from 25 to 60 bucks. Okay, folks, you know that every Friday we try to leave you with something, funny. Nice way to wind up the week, which I hope has been a very good week for you guys. This morning is going to be no exception. I'm going to show you a little piece here. It's very short. I want you to watch and listen very carefully. And also, use your imagination. Chuckle time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the pool will be closed for 5 minutes. Exit the pool. Everyone out. I have a small bathroom break I have to do. Pool will open in 5 minutes. Thank you. ladies and gentlemen, the pool is now open.
Okay. Naughty, naughty, naughty. I got to admit, naughty, naughty. But I thought come on, guys, I thought you would get a little chuckle out of that. Okay, pilgrims, tell you what, just before we pull the plug, a parting word from the Holy Scriptures. Luke chapter 6, verses 27 to 36. But to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. If someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from them. Give to everyone who asks you. And if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who are good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do that. And if you lend to those from whom you expect repayment, what good is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners, expecting to be repaid in full. But love your enemies. Do good to those and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, because he is kind to the ungrateful and wicked. Therefore, be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Luke chapter 6, verses 27 to 36. My dear friends, Ernesto says, I don't do pools. You know, that's the reason why I stay away from swimming pools as well. Ryan says, exactly. Okay, my dear friends, I wish every one of you a wonderful weekend. Like you heard this morning when I was talking to Brian there, we got a zinger coming your way this weekend. So please join us on Sunday morning at 9 for the next edition of Sundays with George Grant. May our good Lord bless and keep you. And by his grace, we'll see you again next week.